Hello, I'm Bob Ailey with Available Media. Much of the contents of this blog was written by Sasha Pyle of Santa Fe. On Thursday, I attended a meeting at the Santa Fe Convention Center presented by the Nuclear Waste Partnership, the contractor which operates a waste isolation pilot plant for the Department of Energy near Carlsbad, New Mexico. The "Let's Chat" comment in the New Mexican might lead one to think that the DOE was interested in what the citizens of New Mexico think about their plan to transport highly radioactive metallic plutonium from the Pantex plant in Amarillo to Los Alamos Labs in northern New Mexico, where it would be turned into a powdered form. The powdered plutonium would then be shipped back across the country to the Savannah River plant in South Carolina, where a chemical would be added to prevent this use as a weapon, and then the powdered plutonium would be shipped back across the country again, back to WIPP. Sounds like a not very good plan. DOE and their contractor did not want to discuss any of this. They claimed that they were here for an exchange of information. It turns out that that was a lie.
My name is Eric Roberts, and I am moderating tonight's meeting. Hey, just a couple of quick things we want to clarify before we get going and introduce our presenters for tonight. Just need to cover a couple things. One, there might have been some miscommunication about the purpose of tonight's meeting in that it's kind of circulated a little bit. This is not a public hearing to discuss expanding WIPP's transportation routes. I realize that there was some miscommunication on that, and there might have been some confusion. But tonight's information exchange is part of just a routine information sharing program that the WIPP site does. They've done it throughout the state, Carlsbad. This is the first time we've been back in Santa Fe, I think, since COVID, if I understand correctly. So this is just a routine information exchange on update on the program and the status of what's happening at the WIPP facility. So I wanted to make sure we shared that. A little bit about myself. My name's Eric Roberts. I have a contract with the Department of Energy that allows me to travel around and moderate and facilitate meetings and work with the community to let their questions be heard and work with DOE as we go through this process.
The hundreds of people who came to the convention center or tuned in to the live stream were a captive audience for a farcical and insulting PR routine. We showed up because we were alarmed by the broken promises, by the questionable long-term ability of the repository to contain its toxic radioactive waste, or not, and by new risks posed by doubling the facility's capacity in accepting plutonium oxide and other nuclear chemical waste streams not in the original agreement. Here is a summary of the concerns that people have. This clip is from a press conference held by the Stop Forever WIPP Coalition, a coalition of community environmental groups which was presented on March 1st, 2022 at the Capitol in Santa Fe.
Today, I'm not only speaking for the communities along Highway 285. Along 285 where I live, I'm speaking for all the communities on the radioactive waste transport route both to and from Lannel. So that includes 502, the 4 pueblos that are on that route, the bypass around 599, the southern edge of Santa Fe, and all of the farmers and ranchers all the way along Interstate 40 to the Texas border. I'm also speaking for all of the communities in these 11 states that are also on the route. They'll be on the route both coming and going. All these communities will be at a higher level of risk because they're all on the radioactive transport route planned in the new Department of Energy mission to expand WIPP. And none of them know it. I'm calling out the DOE and WIPP today. They've covered up the new mission so that the public and our elected officials either don't understand it or don't even know about it. They refuse to meet with us. They distort the facts given to the media, even redefining words like transuranic so that now it means not that harmful when it really means nothing of the sort. They try to break the expansion up into pieces so that each one separately looks innocent. They act as if they can play the public. We disagree. So let me be clear. DOE is changing WIPP in every fundamental way, and it will have a huge effect on us. One, the waste will be an unauthorized and much more dangerous form of plutonium. Two, when added to the huge new waste stream from new pit production, WIPP will need to hold 50% more waste than is allowed. Three, instead of stopping shipments of waste to WIPP in 2024, it will continue taking more for most of the rest of the century. Four, the shipments past our communities will increase many times over, and much of that waste won't be traveling in TruPack containers. This information comes from the Federal Register and the National Academies of Sciences.
Now watch the WIPP guys who ran overtime during the meeting with their self-congratulatory PowerPoint slides.
And we also have requirements associated with transportation. The packages that we use, certified by the NRC, have very stringent requirements associated with them. And so when we load those packages into those Type B shipping containers, we have to make sure that we're compliant on that front as well. All of that occurs before we put any waste on the road, and then it arrives at WIPP for receipt inspection and placement. Next slide, please. So you'll hear us talk about different types of transuranic waste, contact handled.
This kind of dog and pony show goes over well in Carlsbad, where much bread is buttered and many shiny trucks bought with the proceeds from operating WIPP. Here is a summary of their presentation. They are excited about their new ventilation fans. They need more room because stuff happened that didn't use the space optimally. That's a veiled reference to the 2014 radioactive waste drum explosion, which shut down the facility for 3 years. They were closed for 3 years and need to get back on schedule. The explosion cost taxpayers over $2 billion. They are excited about taking more new, different kinds of nuclear waste. They use the same safety measures as a potash mine. That's not reassuring. They are so happy that we are interested in WIPP, but you will not be allowed to speak. You can submit a question on a 3x5 card, which they won't answer because they prefer their softball questions they keep on hand. Anyone who dared to stand up and attempt to ask even a question was rudely put in their place. You would think that people who make their living at the public trough would be a little more civil and caring about the people that provide them with their shiny new trucks. But it became pretty obvious that they did not come there to hear us. Here is what happened when members of the audience attempted to participate.
That, and I will apologize again for the acronyms. We actually have a book of acronyms. It's kind of a sad thing. We have a book of acronyms at WIPP that we have to follow because there are so many. So we do our best not to speak in that lingo, and hopefully you were able to follow my discussion today. But at this time, be happy to answer any questions that you have.
All right, so if you have questions, if you want to hold up your cards, we can collect those.
Excuse me, I need just a minute.
No, ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to sit down, please. Thank you. All right, so we went a little long, as often happens when you have folks that are excited about their work. They tend to carry on a little longer. Bobby, looks like we have a couple more.
This woman is the head of an
Yes,
organization
ma'am, I'm
that's
sorry,
on
I'm
the
gonna need to-
transportation route, and she'd like to say a few words. Since we've been here and listening to you for a long time, why can't she have a few minutes to speak?
She will have an opportunity to speak with DOE in the next part of the meeting, shortly. So,
Yes, but no one else will be able
ma'am,
to hear
I'm going to
her.
have to ask you to sit down, please, or we're not going to be able to have time for
Sit down, where
questions.
does it going to be
So-
recorded so people won't know?
Say again, I'm sorry?
He said only the first half is going to be recorded, so people won't do it.
If she would like to submit a statement, we can take it with the questions and we can post it on the,
Why can't someone actually?
and that's not how we're, ma'am.
Why not? Are you afraid of us?
I'm not afraid of you at all. I'm following directions for the meeting.
Why can't somebody actually speak for the public? She's a very important person, and she has a large group of people that have a lot of concerns.
And we appreciate her being here and you being here as well. But we're gonna
How
follow.
about 10 minutes?
No, ma'am.
Sorry.
All right, so we can either take 15 minutes and address some questions that you guys have submitted, or since we were at the 6:30 time limit, which this was laid out, we can move forward to the one-on-ones next door.
I'm sorry,
But I think that's,
this is not open and transparent communication. It's maple.
sir, please.
Reinhardt's point was.
So let's take just a few minutes and let's look at some of these questions. There were a lot of questions that seemed to be Reinhardt, Sean, seemed to cover a lot of the same ground and created some confusion. So we wanted to make sure you guys got a chance to address those. So these come from a combination of the chat and submitted tonight. So there are questions about the when WIPP was first initiated, it was lined up to go through 2024. And now there appears to be an extension on that. Can you talk a little bit about how that happened and what provides the regulatory statements that allow that to take place?
The Land Withdrawal Act
Can you speak up
talked about.
a little louder?
The Land Withdrawal Act defines the volume of waste that the WIPP repository can receive. And as I indicated, that's roughly 6.2 million cubic feet, or approximately 40% of the way through that particular volume. And so the intent of the Land Withdrawal Act was to allow WIPP to operate and complete that entire mission.
Okay. So follow-up question to that is, so what happened? The intent was to be finished by 2024. It closed up. There were, why the extensions?
Yeah, so certainly, when you take a look at the accident, the 2014 timeframe, there was detailed discussions and understand concerns and perspectives.
Thank you guys so much for being here.
You guys went.
Thank you so much for being here tonight, and we appreciate this. And what we'll do is we're going to move forward into our
Don't
one-on-ones.
mention that half of it
So,
is being reserved for.
if we can allow Reinhardt and
This is not
Sean
public presentation.
to slide
You're
over
pulling a
into.
scam.
If you
In Santa Fe, where we've been educating ourselves for 35 years about WIPP's many hazards, we were there to find out why it's not going to close in 2024 as promised. Now they're saying 2083. And isn't it great? We were there because we care about what happens after we're dead and gone, not this year's new shiny gadgets. After the first hour of their propaganda, they herded everyone out into the hall to supposedly meet one-on-one with their ministers of information to ask questions. I attempted to film the one-on-one meeting so the public could see what questions were being asked and what answers were provided. Here is the result.
There was a question and answer. One-to-one.
Yeah, I think so.
These are personal and private conversations, so we won't be allowing you in there.
It's a public meeting.
Not this portion of it. Thank you.
Responses to questions. But you walk 5 minutes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you're doing a car right now. I do.
All right, I guess you can come on in. They're going to put you in one corner, and I need you to study, please.
This guy, he's a jerk.
I need you to stay in this corner. This is a frame of reference. What's going on up there? Yeah, for certain. Yeah.
don't know where Sean is.
I'll go find him. He's coming. We do have that tour on the 23rd.
Okay.
I wanted to mention it to you. Sir, I'm going to need you to move back so people can actually see the exhibit here.
Where would you like a room?
I'd like you all the way back there, please, from the corner. Actually, a little further back so people can still see this one as well.
I don't have enough room to put the legs out.
I need you further back in the corner so this is not blocked.
Could I speak to your boss? Who's your boss?
He's right there.
He's right there.
We'll make
My name is
Bobby St. John. Yes, sir. Over there at
So who is your boss?
He is not here tonight.
Well, what is his name?
Donovan Major,
Donovan Major?
Yes, sir.
And who does he work for?
Nuclear Waste Partnership. I'm moving these down to give you some more rooms, what I'm trying to do.
Nuclear Waste Partnerships. This is not a DOE meeting then?
Yes, it's DOE. I work for the managing and operating contractor.
Okay, who is the DOE person in charge of this whole thing?
Mr. Kinner.
Mr. Kinder? Is it okay if I go talk to him?
You bet.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good. Hi, Bob Haley.
Hi, Bob, how are you?
Good to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
This is really a kind of a strange thing going on here. It's almost like censorship. I mean, if people can't publicly ask questions and publicly get answers, then how can we really arrive at any accurate information about what's going on at WIPP, other than what your dog and pony showed us?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. You
And
know,
if the public, in the NEPA process, people can put comments, of course, and then DOE has to respond to it. But in this situation, if we can't have a one-to-one conversation that's made public and know that the questions that are asked get answers, then I don't know how,
Well, I mean,
your relationship with the public is damaged by that.
Well, I think certainly the questions that were provided to us that we didn't get to, those will all be answered. And if people have questions, today, part of the reason we've got the note cards is if there's questions that are asked and they want them published, we'll publish the answer to the questions.
But what about questions that are censored?
I don't understand what that means, questions that are
Somebody might write down a question, but then it doesn't ever get delivered to the people to answer it. How do we know that?
It's a good question.
The tragic scale of the pandemic and our shockingly huge recent fires in New Mexico resulted from human failure to correctly predict and plan for risks. But WIPP has such a great slideshow, you just know nothing could ever go wrong. Time for real public hearings on this huge mission shift they call an improvement. It is time for elected leaders to stand up and protect the citizens of New Mexico from this clear and present threat to our homes and lives. Sasha Powell wrote that she wished she had submitted the following question. Do you even understand why we're here? Again? Still? Thanks for watching.